Chad, hey, congratulations for your new film, Scalper here.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I want to say I've spoke to you a few years ago for another film called Nightcaller, and this
Yes.
is the sequel to Nightcaller, in fact.
Yes, it is.
So it's actually amazing because I thought Nightcaller ended perfectly, didn't warn for a sequel. So tell us how did this actually came about? Why did you feel there needs to be another film?
Well, Susan really loved the character, and she kind of called up and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing a sequel?" And my wheels started turning, and it just fell into place. It was one of those things where we had such a good time on the first film, and felt that it turned out well, and it was one of those things. Okay, let's start thinking about how we could continue the story of her, and it kind of fell into place where the jilted, I won't give any spoilers, but it kind of clicked for me for a sequel, and it opened the door, and off we were going.
Most excellent. So which direction did you want to take night excuse me, Scalper in? Because you know what, in its own way, I felt like it was a little bit different from the previous film.
Yeah, well, for me, it was kind of like, if Nightcaller was Four Flies on Gray Velvet, then Scalper would be Tenebrae. So it was kind of going a different, you know, with great inspiration from Argento and Bava and all the giallo slasher type films, and kind of intertwining them with an American sensibility, and then kind of going with more of kind of cleaner, sharper, more of I don't want to say less vibrant, but just kind of a different tone with dealing with more of even the psychic abilities and the netherworld and all these kind of things that we could flash into, and kind of going more of the fantasy element with it.
I know. I mean that's the beauty of Sculper and Nightcrawler is Susan's well, not Susan's, but her character's psychic ability, and the ability to see the dead is what actually helped solve murders in his own way.
Right, right, right. Exactly. And that was something that kind of was even that sparked the sequel idea of getting into that more, and kind of going to a different direction that's more not just a retread of the first one, but has some new elements and some more interesting characters. And just, if you're going to do a sequel, try to, do it with elements of the original, but still kind of going in its own direction so it can be its own film and stand on its own legs.
Now, the title actually threw me off because this one's called Scalper and the first one's called Nightcaller. Usually when people think of sequel, they would be like, "Oh, Nightcaller 2, The Scalper," or something, or
Well,
that.
originally it was Scalper Nightcaller 2, and then, I kind of just left that if, festivals want to use it, or if the distributor wants to use it, it's kind of up to them. And, because in Nightcaller, she referred to him as the Scalper, so it kind of that pulled it into it, and that's where the title kind of came from. So Susan actually came up with it. Originally, I don't even think Scalper was in the screenplay. She kind of just improvised that line. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting title. So just kind of came up, threw it into it.
I remember, speaking to you before, but we talked about Susan. So it must be a delightful, relationship to work with her again in this case.
Yeah, no, totally. Her, Robert Miano, and Sylvia Spross, the regular people that I work with. And then on Nightcaller, that was the first time working with Susan, and she was just such a joy to work with, and a top-notch actress, that it was one of those things where if you find good people, you kind of stick with them and find roles for them or write roles around them, and work with them again.
So it was easy to gather the old gang back, the old cast back for the sequel then.
Yeah, no, they jumped at the chance. It's one of those things where, they know my style, and they I guess they enjoy it because they keep coming back for more pain. But we shoot these, in like 9-day shooting schedules usually, and fast and lean, and try to get everything up on the screen.
Now I want to get into the bits and parts of your film, and I don't want to reveal spoilers, but can you talk about the opening scene? Because I was literally like watching it like this. I mean, I cringed and I had to turn away.
That's good. I like that.
Oh, yeah. That's what you're going for.
Well, for me, it goes back to, Sam Fuller had said, if the first scene doesn't give you a hard on, throw the script in the trash. So for me, it was always like, you make a strong opening that hooks the audience, and whether they love the film or hate the film, they're going to watch the whole thing because they want to know what's going on. And having such an opening that you later find out of why this guy is getting such a brutal attack, I'll say, you kind of can relate to why it had to be that brutal, and why the guy had to get his comeuppance. And for me, it was just one of those openings that it'll leave an impression. So that was kind of the direction I went with it.
So 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 tell us about your those makeup effects that you used on this production.
Well, it's again working with Joe Castro, who is just fantastic practical effects, and he gets it in there and gets, it's one of those things where usually on the first or second take, you're like, okay, we nailed it. You did something that's really, churning, and he's just top notch. And it was one of those things of bringing the brutality up a little bit more, of again a sequel having more of that. And it was one of those things, and Joe just jumped at the chance to do it. And it's always an honor working with him, because he really is one of the best in the business.
How has the look for the Scalper has changed quite a bit for his face?
Well, it was, again, it's hard not to give a spoiler away, but it was one of the characters that he basically scalps and cuts her face off and then wears her face throughout the film, was one of those impactful looks that was like, okay, that's terrifying. And Joe relished the chance of making that come to life in a sense.
And of course, whoever plays the Scalper, his movements are quite something else. I want to say for you, Chad, you're getting this this hunter down pretty well in your films.
Maybe there'll be a third one.
So 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 with the makeup effects, with the story, now it comes to the cinematography. Tell us about the style that you wanted to use for Scalper, because you utilize a lot of cinematographer effects and ways of shooting into this film this time around.
Yeah, well, we got a different DP on this one, Jeff Billings, who I'd worked with before on Pig Killer and The Deep Ones, and just we have a great rapport, and it was bringing him on to kind of give it a different look than Nightcaller. And whereas Nightcaller had more of a 16 millimeter kind of grainy film look, this one again had a kind of a cleaner, more, the lighting's a little sharper. It's just one of those things of kind of just differentiating the two films. And again, going with giving him Tenebrae as an example of, here, let's go for something like that with the fluid camera movements and all these kind of different things, and try to really make something that can stand on its own as a different film, but still have some of the same things as a Nightcaller. So it was one of those things of trying to make something completely different and have a stamp look. It's all its own, and Jeff really did he knocked it out of the park with it.
Yeah, it did look a lot different, and it looked great in this case.
Oh, thank you. No, he'd love to hear that.
Ah, and now you also have some new additions to the cast. I mean, Jake Busey and Kate into this film. And you usually when it comes to serial killers, cops are not in a good position. But no spoilers here. Tell us about the two additional cast members.
Yeah, no, I had such a good time working with them on Pig Killer that it was one of those things of, I wrote the roles specifically for them in the script. And, when I asked them if they were interested, they jumped at it. And it was like one of those things of, I gave them references of films to look at that kind of inspired their characters. Like Sterling Hayden was a big inspiration for Jake's character, and a poppy little film noir called Crime Wave, directed by Andre de Toth, which was another amazing little pot boiler of a film that was shot in 9 days, and it had all these elements that I really aspire to as a filmmaker, of these making these films with little money and putting your heart and soul into it and trying to make the best thing you can. And it was one of those things where it's just a great inspiration for me, and then telling the other actors that I want to work with, here, check this stuff out, here's who you're kind of trying to emulate or who inspired your character, and just try to for me, bring elements of those films that I'm really just enamored by, and just speckle them through my film. Whether the audience sees it or knows about it is really, indifferent to me. It's for me when I see it and I'm like, oh, that's he nailed Sterling Hayden's performance there, or he got this, or these little things that I tell them, whisper in their ear, that they pick up on and then put it in the film. And then it's just kind of an Easter egg for me personally, that I'm just keeps me the enjoyment of me watching the film again and again and again.
I'm curious, how many days of shooting did you take for something like this?
9 days.
9 days.
Yeah.
That is wow. That is quite so what's the greatest challenge for something like a film like this? I'll bet you it's putting by in the pool.
That was a big challenge. I mean, that was probably the toughest day, because it was like 14 pages and we had to get it all in one day. And I believe it was like the third day of filming, so everyone's still kind of getting in the mood and the groove of that kind of schedule. And then when you're hit with a big day like that, it can really kind of knock you out. And in a sense, she actually slipped on the wet marble floor, hit the door, fell down. Her mother was in the hospital in China at the time. There were a whole bunch of things swirling around that could have been just a complete catastrophe and ended the entire shoot. But she is such a trooper that she got up and said, okay, let's do it again, or are we done, or whatever. And you get through it. And it's having actors that, again, you've worked with before, and you kind of know their temperament of what they can take and what they're able to do. And especially when you have to do that many pages, or you have to get such a short schedule and get this stuff done. It's again a great thing to work with not only talented people, but people who you've worked with before and kind of know the routine and are able to get it done. Because there's nothing worse than an actor who has said, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. If they slipped and they fell and they're like, forget it, fuck you, I'm out of here. But these people, they know me, they've worked with me before, and they're like family. So it makes it able to get it done in this short amount of time.
What do you love about doing all these um, indie horror films? I want to say cult indie horror films because it gets released and you have a fan base who love these type of films.
Right. No, well, I'm in that fan base. I love it. I love the Corman films. I love anything that Al Adamson or Ed Wood, or even these things, because when that these guys were the underdog making these little films in a short amount of time, and they're doing it for the love of it. It's definitely not the money and it's not the fame. It's just the love of making films, and that's what I love doing. And the people that I work with, they keep coming back for more, and they seem to love it as well. So it's infectious in a way, and you just love doing it. And if it finds an audience, that's even better. And it's just a joy to be making these things. I count my blessings that even if the budget's $100,000 or $50,000, like the last movie we made, Beyond the Wall of Sleep with Eddie Furlong, we had an $80,000 budget. I worked for nothing. And it's one of those things that you just do it because you love it. And it's sheer joy.
I definitely do love your passion. And I always ask horror directors this question: practical versus CGI.
Oh, practical all the way.
Tell us why. I mean, your film,
Well,
I could tell it's all practical.
yeah, no, it's just something when you're seeing it on set, and the actors are interacting with whether it's getting their head scalped and the blood running down or whatever it is, it enhances their performance, and it's just exciting to see it. And especially when it with Joe doing it, and it works, and you're just like, wow, that was amazing. It's just an exciting jolt of when you're seeing it live and come to life. It's really amazing. And you know, I'm nothing against digital effects. They're great to enhance the practical effects, and if they're seamless and you can't tell, then it's all the better.
Most excellent. Very good answer.
Thank you.
And Chad, as I'm wrapping this up, I've taken a lot of your time already.
Oh, it was great.
Is there going to be another film?
Well, like I said, we just finished shooting Unspeakable Beyond the Wall of Sleep, which is based on H.P. Lovecraft's Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and we've got the old ones coming out. I think a month after Scalper. So you know, you just keep cranking them out and having fun doing it.
It sounds like you have a lot of fun doing it. I have a lot of fun watching it. In fact, I have Pig Killer in my queue to watch too. And you mentioned that quite a few times. I was going, I should actually watch this, but then it tells me about my mentality of watching mass serial killers all the time. And you keep on making them, and I keep on watching them. That's all I can say.
Well, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, Chad, thank you very much for speaking to us about Scalper. Can't wait to talk to you again on your next film. Thanks.
Well, same here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.